Today we'll be remembering the story of a visionary leader who liberated his country, Ghana, from British colonial rule in 1957 and dreamt of uniting Africa. His ideas of freedom, true independence and Pan-African unity spread across the continent during the post-colonial era and are still very much relevant today. He survived 5 assassination attempts and was removed from power by a military coup in 1966. Kwame Nkrumah, who died in 1972, left a plethora of development, numerous publications and an eternal legacy. Like the saying goes, Nkrumah never dies.
This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence. To independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
This period was pivotal in Kwame's life. He read a lot. He was influenced by socialist literature, the works of Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin and Marcus Garvey. He became the president of the African Students' Organization of the United States and Canada. He left the US in May 1945 and went to England, where he organized the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester. Meanwhile, in Ghana, then a British colony known as the Gold Coast, the United Gold Coast Convention had been formed. A first-of-its-kind party working towards self-government by constitutional means. Nkrumah was invited to be the UGCC's General Secretary and returned home in late 1947. Protests and riots calling for independence made Nkrumah a target for the British colonial government. He was briefly arrested in February 1948 alongside other leaders of the UGCC. A split eventually occurred in the party, and in 1949, Nkrumah formed the new Convention People's Party, committed to a program of immediate self-government. Starting in 1950, Kwame pushed for a campaign of positive action, with non-violent protests, strikes and a boycott of British colonial authorities and business. Nkrumah was again arrested and sentenced to 1 year in prison. In February 1951, the country had its first general election. It was a done deal for the vastly popular CPP. He was elected to parliament, released from prison, and in 1952, he became the first Prime Minister of Ghana.
At Accra, a huge crowd cheers as Kwame Nkrumah leaves James Fort Prison freed by the governor as an act of grace on the eve of the inauguration of the new constitution.
In 1957, Ghana declared its independence, the first country situated south of the Sahara Desert to do so, and in 1960, he was elected president of Ghana. Here's a quick listen to Nkrumah's independence speech.
We are going to say that we create our own African personality and identity. We dedicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate all the countries in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it can link up the total reflection of the African continent.
Kwame's government was primarily nationalist and socialist. While in power, Nkrumah pushed for the Africanization of the civil service, introduced free education and healthcare, and built a strong national education system by challenging the Eurocentrism and white supremacy embedded in British textbooks and cultural institutions. He opposed and weakened tribalism within the country. He promoted a Pan-African culture, calling for international libraries and cooperative efforts to study history and culture. So one unusual and random fact about Kwame, he's also featured in a track by British grime musician Stormzy, introducing him to a whole new generation.
Look in my eyes, see Kwame Nkrumah. That's a real presidential black man. Real revolution starter.
Remember, Nkrumah never dies.